let's go in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a really great state of a lot of the things coming together with a paid staff, with a database, with a good chair that keeps everyone on the same page and in the right direction. I forgot where I was going with that. Pennsylvania, yeah, we have when Jay in Oklahoma has an issue. David in Colorado, last week he did calls to 3 other states, South Carolina, Idaho, and another one, and that really helped. He spends an hour and a half in each of the states, and he gets them from, I'm kind of confused, kind of poking around to, okay, I'm kind of at a good, maybe novice level, kind of getting going. And so that's what we really encourage is cross collaboration among states. We all don't have to be in a silo.
One more real quick important thing. He's got videos and stuff that anybody can.
Around here for the rest of the day, so please hit me up with any questions. I'm yours.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Ken. Are we ready for Bill, or do we have a Kyle right now? Next time is the ballot access committee report.
Hey, Bill, it's Dan Fishman. You're on with the LNC. Are you good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right. I have to speak here. Bill,
Speak again real quick.
oh, wait, this is my point.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Try again, Bill.
Hello.
Hey. All right, go.
Hey. Okay.
Yes, please start.
Go, Bill.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Bill Redpath at my home in West Dundee, Illinois. Want to welcome everybody to the new LNC. I'm sorry there's no written report this time around. We've been busy with petition drives, which ended. The last one ended 8 days ago in Rhode Island. I think we are waiting yet for official certification in Connecticut and Montana. And also, and not just that, I'm also a candidate for U.S. House in Illinois, and I've got a campaign to run right now. This is busy questionnaire time for me. So in any event, so we think right now, once we get the certifications in Connecticut and Montana, then it would be official that the Joe Spike ticket will be on the ballot in all 50 states and D.C. And I just wanted to point out that if this does occur, that 50 states plus D.C., the Libertarian Party will have had a presidential ticket on the ballot in all 50 states and D.C. in 5 of the last 8 presidential elections. And I think that is something we can all be proud of. It is really unprecedented. The longevity of the Libertarian Party and the ballot access success, particularly with the presidential ticket of the Libertarian Party, is absolutely unprecedented since state governments began controlling ballots in the late 19th century. So I think it's an accomplishment. I read in a recent magazine article the other day that the Green Party is sliding backwards in terms of presidential ballot access. It appears they will be on the ballot in 30-some states this year, and we've done it again, 50 states plus D.C. In terms of money, there are still dribs and drabs coming in here and there. This petitioner needs to get paid, that petitioner needs to get paid. Various expenses coming in. The last figure I got, the LNC this year, as to date, as of sometime this past week, spent $89,374 on ballot access this year. The Joe Spike campaign, I've been told, approximately $50,000 plus staff time. And with the dribs and drabs coming in, the total ballot access expenditure this year combined from the LNC and the Joe campaign will be about $150,000. The lawsuits this year were a double-edged sword. Overall, they helped out in terms of getting ballot access, but there was a downside to the lawsuits as well. and that is where lawsuits were ongoing and we had mixed success in getting ballot access relief. We certainly got major ballot access relief in Illinois, in Virginia, Maryland, New Hampshire. There was a state, Maine was a state where we didn't get ballot access relief. Pennsylvania was a state where we didn't get ballot access relief. And the problem with the lawsuits was that people sort of stopped. You know, why go out and petition when it may turn out to be wasted effort? Then when we didn't win in certain places, where we did win, then suddenly we had to chin up again and get people going again. And there, looking back on it, there was too much of a halted effort for petitioning when the ballot access lawsuits were ongoing. But we made it with the presidential ticket in all 50 states and DC. It all turned out well in the end. In terms of the volunteer effort, I'm sad to report that I think the volunteer effort, I know we've had COVID-19 this year and other situations, but I think the volunteer effort this year regressed. I think that of all the states where we had to petition, I think only Tennessee, and they only needed 275 signatures. So please, if somebody thinks of a state that didn't volunteer where we had to petition, please correct me. But in every state where we had needed 1,000 or more ballot signatures, those states all needed some sort of paid petitioning help. Now, I will say that Pennsylvania had a very good volunteer effort. I believe they did over 6,000 volunteer signatures in Pennsylvania this year, and that was a standout among the states. But unfortunately, I think the volunteer effort this year was not what it has been at times in the past. I would like to, it's better to be lucky than good, and that definitely applies to ballot access. It is my understanding that we made it on the ballot in Maine with 7 signatures to spare. We needed 4,000 ballot. Apparently, we turned in 4,007, and it was right down to the last minute. And we were very fortunate that we made it on the ballot in Maine. But I want to thank some people, and I can't go on a long time on this. But there are some people that without them, we would not have made the ballot in all 50 states and DC with the presidential ticket. First and foremost, Darrell Bonner. Darrell Bonner has been an incredibly good petitioner for the Libertarian Party for a long time. He gathered most of the paid signatures in Alabama. When Pennsylvania became a problem/crisis in July, he returned to Pennsylvania and petitioned there and helped recruit other petitioners there, and then returned to Alabama. He made it very well petitioned in other states that I don't recall off the top of my head. But we wouldn't have made it on the ballot in all 50 states had it been for Darrell Bonner. We wouldn't have made it on the ballot in all the states in the work of Chris Thrasher. Chris Thrasher went to Maine. Where we just made the ballot. Chris Thrasher hadn't been available to go to Maine and do what he did. We've had some great coordinators. Jen Moore, who is now on the Ballot Access Committee, a great coordinator in Pennsylvania, and Nick Dunbar went to Maine, went to Rhode Island. His presence, Nick Dunbar hadn't gone to Maine, we probably wouldn't have made it. So we just pulled it together in enough places to pass these thresholds. And again, that is a tremendous accomplishment for the Libertarian Party. And I do apologize. I need to brainstorm with my fellow other petitioners. There were a lot of petitioners who turned out and a lot of volunteers who went out and gathered signatures. But those people, truly, without them, this wouldn't have happened. And I also wanted to speak to the Ballot Access Committee. The Ballot Access Committee, the composition of it. Oh, no, I don't want to go there yet. I've got one more. Alabama. Richard Winger has contacted me and said that he really wants to do a party petition in Alabama for 2022. It would get us ballot access for 2022. It is very likely that there would be a two-way race between a Republican and a Libertarian for a statewide office that would get over 20% for the Libertarian Party candidate. And if that happened, that would get us ballot status for 2024. Richard Winger has offered to put $40,000 of his own money into this petition drive. But there is a problem, and that is the ballot access laws of Alabama. I can't tell you the exact number. The number of the ballot signatures is 51, XXX. I forget the last three numbers, but it is a number between 51,000 and 52,000 ballot signatures would be needed in Alabama. We can start at any time. In fact, I do believe that some signature gathering on this has started volunteer in Alabama. We will certainly try to marshal a big petitioning effort on November 3. That would be a great day to petition in Alabama, and we need to try to get Alabama volunteers out. We need to try to get people who are willing to come in from nearby states to petition. These are great days. I mean, I have done huge numbers at polling places on election day. If we get enough people out there on November 3, we can make a huge dent in that petition drive. But I would find it difficult to believe that the entire petition drive that is envisioned here would cost less than $200,000. It probably would cost $200,000. And possibly even more. But I would think that we could try to bring in $200,000. Richard Winger would be willing to put in $40,000 until home. Now for the ballot access committee. I'm currently chair, the other members, Ken Newman, John Phillips, Richard Winger, Justin Nana, Chris Thrasher, and Jen Moore. I will admit that in the past, we have not had regular ballot. This year, we have not had regular ballot access committee meetings. We should do that. We should do that after Election Day. Start that in November, ASAP after Election Day. I think we've got other things to deal with between now and Election Day. I am able and willing to serve as chair of the committee. It is my understanding that it is up to the chairman. I believe it is the chairman's discretion to name who chairs the committee. If he would like someone else to chair the committee, that's okay with me. I would say to the committee and the chairman that right now it is not my intention to attend LNC meetings this term in person since I was not re-elected to the committee. I've served over 17 years running up until July 2020, 21 years total, including 1989 to 93. As you all know on this committee, the troops aren't free. I think right now I will be, if I am chairman of the committee, I will be addressing you electronically in some way on this, and the chairman of the committee probably should take that into consideration regarding whom he or you would like the chairman of this committee. And that's it. I would be happy to address questions if there is time and the committee would like to do that.
Thank you, Bill. We have 2 minutes for questions. Ms. Billiard, we get our mic over there.
So my question is, and I haven't spoken specifically to Laura Lane or the people in Alabama right now, but my question is about Alabama.
Bill, can you hear that?
Okay. In the past, it has been expressed to me as the region rep for Alabama that they were not interested in petition drives for ballot access for the state affiliate, because it was very expensive and there was a time when they didn't believe they could actually put it to good use. So I would just wonder if Richard Winger or the rest of you guys have actually had conversations with Alabama to know if this is something they would get on board with, because that's a whole lot more money beyond what Richard Winger is willing to put in that the Alabamans would have to also get on board with. So I just want to point out that that's something that needs to be discussed with Alabama specifically if it has not already.
If I may, hold on, hang on for 1 second. Make that out. So it has something to do with Alabama. Hold on, please. I'm going to call up an email here to best respond to that. The short answer is I think they are interested. But hang on for a second. I did get an email on this from Laura Lane, and I'm trying trying to get to that right now. Come on. Oh, come on.
Bill, maybe we can follow up later on that.
Yeah, why don't you go on to the next question? I will, hold on for a second. Wait a minute, I found it, I think. Offices up in 2022, U.S. Senate, governor, the whole statewide, all state senators and representatives, a whole bunch of offices. We've already gotten the state petition started and gathered about 80 signatures when Jim Jorgensen was at Huntsville. It is not up on the website, though, hopefully by the end of next week. Pushing membership to get out on election day for petitioning is definitely in the works. And a formal brainstorming session is planned for next week to include volunteers. The potential candidate for governor has already reached out. Several others have too, but I don't recall what offices. And so, anyway, so it is my understanding that the LP of Alabama is interested in this, but exactly what they have in the way of resources that I do not fully know.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Nana, under the wire for the last one.
Yeah, just as a comment about Alabama. In my personal experience, it depends on who you talk to as to whether or not they want to do this. So I agree that we need to investigate.
You hear that, Bill?
No, I did not. I'm sorry.
Dustin just observed that you might get different answers from different people in Alabama.
Okay, all right. That may be.
All right, time has expired on this item. On behalf of the committee, I want to express our appreciation to Bill for everything he's done to make ballot access a reality.
Here, here.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, and have a great LNC term. Thank you.
All right. We've moved around the agenda a bit, and it's a question of whether we want to power on or do lunch now and then pick up after lunch. My preference is going to be that we take lunch now because we are having audio problems with the live stream. I'd like to give,
Audio's been fixed.
well, we'll see. And I'd like to give staff the opportunity to test that and take the lunch to do it before we go on to staff reports, so that if anybody's watching at home, they're not missing information. However, there are two kind of housekeeping items I'd like to do before we would adjourn for lunch. One is I would like to take probably about 10 minutes in executive session to discuss 3 items of pending or potential litigation that I think everybody on the committee should be aware of. It's just housekeeping to remind you that we're going to be doing photographs this afternoon, so take the lunch period if you need to do anything to prepare for that. And then there's an announcement from the secretary. So before we go to that, is there any objection if we hear from the secretary, followed by 10 minutes in executive session for pending potential litigation, followed by adjournment for lunch? You're objecting?
Not an objection. I've noted the COC also has an executive session.
Okay. All right. Objection?
Well, as a suggestion, possibly objection, if it's well received, could we not hear the secretary's announcement and then move into our executive session, have our lunch at the same break time? That way the members of our gallery know the time certain to come back at 1:30, as the agenda says, then we can address the potential other suggestion that the COC has not related to executive session as well.
It's not well taken. There are reports further down on the agenda. The time certain is a good idea, though. I think we should just set that for an hour and a half whenever we finish here. All right, without objection. Madam Secretary.
Okay, everyone. Those of you from last term will know that I like to come bearing gifts. And one of the initial things that I like to do for everyone, inspired by Dr. Lark, is I have in a bag here nameplates for you all to put, and it helps on the video so people can see. So I've got one for everybody. Come see me during lunch, and I will give that for you. But I'm going to surprise the chair here for a moment. He didn't know I was going to do this. Because you are the grand poobah, I did get you the Grand Poobah hat. So, come see me at lunch, please.
I'll put it on next.
So 10 minutes executive session, and then we'll be adjourned for lunch until, oh, we are early. I'm on Eastern time, so. I'm on Eastern time, so. All right. Well, maybe I should take all that back. You just tell me it's fixed, Dan?
I have report from Ethan Bishop mentioning that the audio is much better than it was.
All right, well, that's my number one boss. So. All right, if there's no objection to the committee, I rescind my motion. So, let's go on to staff reports then, and then we'll do that right before lunch.
All right, let me get the stat up on the screen. So thank you, members of the LNC. We have a lot of staff assembled, and since we have a lot of people here in Minneapolis as well, I thought I would start with various staff members online and allow them to give their reports. And also hear a lot of people here in Minneapolis as well. Sorry, I'm also monitoring the sound of the other system. All right, I believe now you guys can hear me, and the staff are here and ready to go. And so I'm going to start with Robert Krause. Robert, would you care to give your report, please?
First of all, can everyone hear me?
Try again.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. I have a thumb up from the back.
Oh, very good. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Minneapolis. I hope the hotel and everything is satisfactory for everyone. I had submitted a written report, and I think it pretty much covers everything that I wanted to say. Tim talked about the current financials. I talked a little bit about the financials from the July report. And if anybody has any questions, I am available to answer those. Otherwise, I can give my time to someone else.
Okay, I just want to pop up that, of course, people who are on who wanted to pull up on snap, share screens or something like that. Of course, we can do that because I have you up on the big screen so everybody can see you. So let me move next to Jess Mears. Jess, are you ready to go?
Yes, and I'm calling it my phone. How can I share screen?
That's going to be tough. You're going to have a hard time with the phone. Sorry.
How about someone else, and I'll call right back in on my computer?
Sure, absolutely. It looks to me like Tyler is ready to go. Tyler, you set?
I sure am. Thank you very much. Thank you to the members of the LNC and to libertarians all around the country who are watching this meeting. Like Robert, I submitted a written report. I'm going to let the written report speak to itself broadly. That said, Mr. Fishman did request that I speak more specifically about LP Store over the past couple of months. So as many of you may be aware, in May, LP Store, in terms of fulfillment, we moved our physical packaging, shipping, and the associated inventory management from in-house at LP headquarters to a longtime vendor of ours for literature, the name Maxwell Kent in Northern Virginia, to provide fulfillment from LP Store going forward. There were a number of factors, some of them foreseen, some of them unforeseen, that led through June and into July to a number of delays experienced by our members purchasing off of LP Store. Those included, the overwhelming amount of excitement and interest in Jo Jorgensen's campaign. We saw store orders increase by an order of magnitude, far in excess of even the increase that we had predicted. We also saw some unexpected supply chain slowdowns and issues with some of our vendors, including Masterprint itself, relating to COVID-19 and the various impacts that has had on supply chains. We also saw delays as the fulfillment hubs worked to take in our existing inventory to get their systems online and running, and to get processes in place for our LP Store data to move into their systems so that they could get fulfillment online and running. Most of those issues had been resolved by the time of my last staff report in terms of the delays, and those processes are now approximately operating. However, in July, upon receiving the first invoice, we realized that the cost associated with both the increased volume that LP Store was doing and this outside fulfillment arrangement was pretty far out of line with our expectations. Robert Kraus deserves a tremendous amount of credit here in working to resolve a number of shipping cost issues, to find more efficient and effective ways and lower cost ways to see our products shipped out by our new fulfillment house. Nonetheless, it subsequently still became clear that additional steps were going to be necessary in order to bring LP Store back to a state of profitable operation. We've done an across-the-board analysis, drilling down to the item-by-item level, various items on LP Store from recent batches fulfilled by our fulfillment house. I can, if Dan has permitted to share a screen, I can briefly share the screen here. And what we have found has been, is that presentation now? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What we have found in analyzing invoices that we've received from our fulfillment house.
Slow it up a touch.
Perfect. That was me. That's fine.
We can fine tune it. What we have seen in analyzing the several invoices that we have received from our fulfillment house since those initial adjustments were made is that the LP Store has been operating at approximately a 9 and about a 30% loss. As a stopgap, we implemented across the board price increases that should be sufficient to, on their own, close that gap and restore LP Store to profitability. We've also drilled down item by item to determine areas where individual items may be less profitable for us to maintain. Of course, there are some that, because of their value to our marketing and brand promotion, we may want to continue to distribute through LP Store, even if those individual items are not profitable, but it's important that we have access to make those sort of decisions and determinations. As you can see, a significant portion of the cost is still being driven by shipping charges, and so we're still exploring avenues to do that more efficiently and effectively as LP Store moves forward. I think I can speak for staff in saying that we remain tremendously committed to a vision of LP Store that serves its function of promoting the LP brand, of synergizing with our larger efforts to spread our message, to providing valuable tools to our affiliates and activists in the field to continue to promote the Libertarian Party and our message. I think we're also all committed to doing that in a way that does not place an excessive burden on staff and does not place a financial burden on the party as a whole. Since somebody made the mistake of actually giving me a microphone and a platform, I will also take the time to say that as we confront these challenges with LP Store and any of the other challenges that we're going to be confronting, there will be many of them in the next 2 months, I can hardly think of a better team to be working with. I feel honored and privileged to be working alongside such a dedicated and tremendously professional staff, to be working with such a wonderful and committed LNC, and to be part of a party that is full of such incredible activists and members and truly wonderful people out there in the field. It's my honor and privilege. I'll be available for any questions that anybody has, and I will let the rest of my written report cover any territory that I can cover here.
If I could quickly, Tyler, go into talking about how previous LP stores we had never reported labor as a cost. If you could briefly address that.
Sure, and I should say there are still some gaps in the costs that we're able to factor in here, and staff time is one of them. But in terms of the labor of physically packaging and shipping, that is of course what we're paying an outside fulfillment house to do now. In prior iterations of reporting that have been done on LP Store, where staff was responsible for the packaging, the shipping, the manual labor that went into operating the storefront, that had oftentimes gone either underreported or not being reported at all. So previous discussions of the profitability of LP Store items really tended to take place on the basis of gross profitability, just looking at the cost of goods and what we're selling them for, and looking at gross revenue. Whereas now there's a real quantifiable way that we can incorporate the actual cost of packaging, shipping, fulfillment, the real costs that are being incurred there into our consideration and analysis, and being a much more robust and accurate picture of how LP Store is playing into the financial picture of the party.
Awesome.
I'll also take a minute to say that the level of increase that we've seen in orders since Dr. Jorgensen's nomination in May has been absolutely astounding. And that were we to be fulfilling those orders in-house, there would be significant staff costs. Not just a burden on current staff time, but likely needing to hire on additional staff. There'd be a challenge in the health environment of COVID-19 in terms of how you could even get the quantity of people we need working in close proximity to fulfill those orders. So in spite of some of the challenges that we've had to work through with this, I still feel that it's been really beneficial and really fortuitous in light of this climate that none of us a year ago could have anticipated having to work in, that we have been able to provide these, have these fulfillment services provided by a third party who is dedicated to that purpose and have not had to try to tackle the issue with the staff.
Awesome, and I'll be coming back to more of the LP Store issues when I get to my section of the report. Jess, you ready to go?
Yes, thank you. Let me pull up my report and I'll get started, and I'll keep this brief. Okay, can you see my report?
We can.
Wonderful. Hi, LNC, and welcome to the new LNC representatives to your positions. Really looking forward to working with all of you and to getting to know you more over the next 2 years. So my name is Jess. I am our membership manager. And I'm really excited to share with you that our membership team has expanded. So we now have Michelle McCutcheon on the team. And Michelle's role is to do the things that I haven't been able to do yet, which includes membership retention and engagement. This is something that Dan has been impressing upon me. That's a very important role in his administration as executive director. And so with my position, I'm primarily responsible for sending out membership solicitations and coming up with new ideas for our membership appeals. And so having Michelle on board is a really added bonus to keeping our members engaged and making sure that they are being contacted and welcomed into the party appropriately. So really excited for you all to get to hear more from Michelle about what she's doing to champion her position. I am calling in from Greenville, South Carolina. I've temporarily relocated here to Greenville to assist Dr. Jo Jorgensen on the campaign trail. So I am traveling with her, and I've seen a number of you, and I will see a number of you here in the coming weeks as she is going to be hitting a number of states. I have here photographed a couple LNC representatives that should be in the room today that helped me with making a membership pitch at her campaign events. Campaign events, all of them are including a membership pitch. And we've gone through all of the RAC cards that are for joining the LP that existed in the office. So 5,000 are on the way to start off Dr. Jorgensen's second bus tour. And we're looking forward to seeing more of these memberships come in. We do not have an appeal code that I know of to track them. Otherwise, I'd let you know how many members specifically have came in just because of Dr. Jorgensen's events and passing out literature. So I included in my report, which my apologies for sending to you so late last night, membership revenue and the percentage of revenue that comes in through membership. You'll see there was a decline in the number of dollars that came in August. So I wanted to share a little bit of background with you there. I'm sure Tara's going to go over, there was a super mailer that went out to a very, very large list from our house list, and in that are a number of lapsed members, people who have been away for a long time. We're hoping to see those come in. Those ERAs are right now hitting, and we're seeing those come back. So we're looking forward to a lot of members being reactivated. But due to timing, there was not a renewal mailing sent out for 1 month because of the super mailer. So we're back on schedule now with the renewal mailing going back out, and that super mailer is bringing the responses back in. So we're looking forward to a really healthy September. The membership card selfies, those are something I talk about all the time with the active LNC reps that have been with us before. This is such an amazing program. If you can encourage more people to participate, it's a great way to bring in more members and show people a little bit about the psychology behind it. People are really attracted to human faces. So when they see a human face on social media, they stop and engage with it. And when they see the membership card and they see that this person's claiming to be a libertarian, they wonder why they themselves don't have this card. And it causes them to come and process through the system and become a member. The majority of the people that are joining through the probably LP selfies, which are, we track those, so we know exactly how many people are coming through that. They're mostly all new members. And I included also some things that I would like to continue to advocate for to improve our membership and our fundraising abilities through membership. So thank you all for indulging me this morning. Best wishes for your LNC meeting, and I look forward to working with all of you more closely.
Awesome, thank you very much, Jess. Michelle, you ready to go? You are muted, there you go. All set.
Let me get mine up and we will go.
And while Michelle's pulling that up, Robert did let me know it is possible to track those memberships. 217 new members through the Jo Jorgensen and Spike Cohen events.
All right.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. down to the bottom right and click present now.
I did. My internet's starting to lag or whatever.
All right.
So, for now, until it decides to share, which I clicked on, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle McCutcheon. I'm newer to the team, as Jeff said. I'm the membership associate reporting directly to Jeff. So my primary mission is to engage our members, make them feel welcome, keep them tied, get them right into state and local levels, and keep up our retention. Right now, for the month, I came on a few days into July. In my report, it shows you I contacted 1,441 members. If I don't personally reach you, and sometimes even if I do, I also send an email. For those, since we have such a high volume during a presidential cycle, if I don't get to call you, I send a personalized email via mail merge and ask them to set up a time if they'd like to talk to me. Also co-hosting with Chris Clemens from our development division. Our new member welcome hangout every single Tuesday. We've had a lot of great engagement there. And I feel very, very privileged to be able to talk to the newbies who are so excited about Dr. Jorgensen, about our party, and getting them tied in. And for August stats, I can contact 1,381 new members. And right now, our year-to-date on lapsed members is up 0.88%. Our total active members is up 43.73% year-to-date. And that's it.
Those are outstanding numbers, Michelle. Thank you very much. We're going to go over to some of the people in-house. Paula, are you ready? And then we'll do Kara on deck. Do you have anything to show you want to plug that in?
Hello, I'm Apollo Bazell, and I work for the candidates in candidate support. I'm just going to go ahead and give a brief overview. Some of the more strategically sensitive things we've got, and we'll go over in a closed session. But some things I can tell you from statistics are, so far we have raised, the Fremont County Libertarian Party raised $55,000. The door knocks since August 1st, we have 9,678. Candidate fundraising for specifically targeted candidates in South Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, and some other locations totals $39,674. We've sent 8 mailers, phone calls made 13,983. That started since September 1st. We did start later thanks to COVID. It has been a challenge. Campaigning was a challenge. We did poll early on to figure out which activities would be best. It varied too much. The plan was we were going to put out a guide to try to give best practices on campaigning in COVID, but it varied far too much in different jurisdictions to be able to do anything that was uniform, depending on political parties, depending on urban versus suburban, etc. The variations were just too extreme for us to be able to put out a comprehensive guide that would be effective. Luckily, as time has gone on, it has become easier to do the campaigning in a COVID climate. It did cause us to start slower. It was also made it more difficult to hire canvassing teams. People were very hesitant to fly across the country and knock on random strangers' doors when there was a pandemic happening. So that did also have a fairly large impact on the situation. There are some significant positives in the flagship race in Bethany Valdez's race in District 55. We've had some significant successes. We have knocked every door one time, and we are about halfway through the second knock right now. There have been 3 mailers sent out. She received the endorsement of the Wyoming Realtors, which comes with about $5,500 worth of donations and advertising and things like that. She received the donation or the endorsement of Wyoming Gun Owners Association, which is the first time in history that they have given a libertarian an endorsement. That came with donations as well as mailers. She received the endorsement of the current mayor, the former 3 mayors of the city she's running in, the incoming Republican senator for District 26, which governs her district, And probably the most significant was David Miller, who in 2018, she came within 53 votes of unseating, and he is now a very ardent supporter, was assured where he goes, and speaks very, very highly of Bethany as his personal pick for the replacement. Outside of that project, I have consistently been working on what happens on the 4th of November, because there is a day after Election Day. We are working with elected officials to create an elected official support network. This will allow elected officials to stay in touch with each other, to have model ordinances, to have a support system. This came about because when I was making phone calls to try to recruit candidates for 2020, I started first with our bench of lower level candidates, our lower level elected officials, and it became very clear very quickly that nobody had reached out to those candidates after they had gotten elected, or very rarely. Karen and I do a lot of that work, but in the past it hasn't happened very much. So we are going to try to create a support network so that they're not out in the dark. A lot of our elected officials we had to remove from our page because they had actually left the party because they did not receive a lot of support from our party. So we're going to try to rectify that problem. And then I think that's basically it. And then I will be returning for additional questions another time. Thank you. Yes.
So just so you didn't say this explicitly, just so you all know, Mr. Fazell has requested some time in executive session to discuss political strategy. So what I propose that we do is we do whatever Q&A we want to do for him that doesn't require that. We'll hear from the other staff members and do other Q&A, and then excuse the gallery. We'll do the executive session for that, as well as the litigation executive session. Does anybody have I know it's a little awkward because basically we send him home and we keep bringing him up, but if anybody has a better idea, I'm happy to hear. Are those better ideas or questions?
Question.
Okay. All right, so that's what we'll do. Thank you for questions.
Yes. Sorry. All right, Mr. Giselle, thank you for the outstanding work you've been doing on the Frontier project. That's absolutely phenomenal. I'm excited to see the success we're having there. What things do you think this body could do to support your November 4th or post-election? Or do we have a name for that project? What do you need from us?
I'm really bad at naming projects. Friendship Project was lightning in a bottle. I'm really, really terrible at naming things. So no, there's no name for it.
Yeah, 20 projected names.
Okay, so this body needs names. Is there anything else that you could use from this body prior to our budget meeting, which presumably will be in December, that we could get the ball rolling while we're here assembled, or something that we just should discuss on email? Or what are you asking from this body right now to support?
The chair and the executive committee, the new chair and the committee have been very, very supportive. And I feel like we have what we need to move forward. I don't think there's any additional asks that we need. The challenges now are outside of the realm of the LNC. That's more dealing with, low applications for canvassers and things like that. Those are things that we can't really rectify on the outside.
Okay, I appreciate that. That was literally Dustin's question as well.
And all right, budget significantly.
Sure. Anyone, Mr. Fazell, meant to say with more canvassers?
Yes, and canvassers sent in my way.
So if you know people who might be out of work right now with the current crisis and would be willing to go to a nice cold state and knock on doors, send them our way.
Cold and you.
That sounds so awesome. First of all, I would like to thank those guests and LNC members who came out to the door knocking event. The value of that cannot be understated. We were able to get through almost 3 complete precincts last night. And Burnsville has 17, so that was a big step. It was a morale booster. But the other thing that it does is it shows our candidates that you are willing to get your hands dirty and be active. And I cannot thank you enough for that. That meant so much, and it means so much to not just that candidate, but all of our candidates to know that they have that support from you. So thank you, and you should definitely be commended for that. My report, which I believe you all have, yes, okay. So I'm I'm definitely not going to read the report. I just want to highlight a couple items. The first being the 2021 regional state affiliate and candidate training. And then we're also going to be probably rolling in some training that our development director will be discussing as well. What we're looking for is we're looking for each region to pick their city and state that they want this to be hosted in this year, and their date, and we need to get those on the calendar as quickly as possible. So please look at your calendars, talk to your regions.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What's a good range so that I know, so I'm not doing it at a bad time? Any time in 2021 or?
That is up to you and your region for when you wish to do this. This will be something that we do in odd number years, and even number years, we will be offering this type of in-depth training to strengthen both our candidates and campaign teams, but also our state affiliates at the convention. So that's how we're looking at doing this. We did the test in a couple regions last year. They were extremely successful. And so that's why we're going ahead with this rollout in 2021. I am shifting more towards 2021 and 2022 in the work that I'm presently doing. I do have an ask for the body to consider. And before I do that, we will be doing our candidate aftercare again this year, so I will be talking to regional reps and at-large as well to assist me with that, because we have more candidates running this year than we did last year, and I do like those calls to take place within 48 hours after the election. So that is quite the effort to get that done. The ask that I am looking at is resuming something that we had in process in 2017, 2018, but had to suspend temporarily due to budget crunch that we were under. The first step in that program was to be able to offer websites and some other services to our candidates. That is the #1 requested thing from candidates that they were asking from me again in 2019 and again this year, of an absolute flat-out need that they have. A quality website that functions well with a donation button. The next step in that project was going to be then to have kind of a campaign in a box for candidates who do need this and can't develop it on their own, which would mean they have the website, they have the yard sign, and they also have literature that they can hand out and be designed. We don't print that, but it's there to be designed. The benefit to us was we were receiving the back end of their data. And again, we're all very focused on data. And if we have all of these candidates expanding our data and our reach and our potential, this could be incredibly huge for our party, both nationally, state affiliates, everything. The third step in this was to explore replicating what the Republicans and Democrats do with Act Blue and Win Red. Those are one-stop portals for candidates and issues. If you're not familiar with those websites, please check them out. They're amazing. And I believe the Democrats at this point have raised over $6 billion just in their portal. What the user experience is they enter that portal, they can put their address in or that kind of thing, and they get alerts and they find out what candidates are running in that area. They get connected to issues. It ties into SMS pushes. It ties into donation. It really makes everything that we're talking about as far as staff and also what you all are talking about come together and function really well for the user experience. The ask is not to greenlight that we do this. The ask is that we have 4 hours of or 4 days of a contractor's time to do a really in-depth discovery of what, like our everything wish list for this project. Because we can't even ask ask the right questions yet until we have that discovery. And the questions will have to do with issues of security. If we're doing these websites and it's tight in the background, how about security? How are we going to process donations? Should we be processing donations for candidates? Legal issues. Also, just what does the body want to do or not do? What are you interested in? What does that look like? So the ask is that we have 4 days of Ryan Waterbury's time to flesh this out, do a discovery, and do this the right way in a very thoughtful manner. So that is the ask that, that I am proposing for this body, and I stand for questions.
How much money do you estimate we should budget for these asks?
So, yeah, so really it's hours, so it's, 8 hours a day and 4 days of.
So it's like 32 hours of consultant's time, and I believe that he's billing us at $25 an hour, but there might be like 27.
So the ask is very modest.
Also for the website and the candidate body.
We won't know that until the discovery is done.
Exactly.
So that's what sort of, this is a setup for that, to come up with our backgrounds.
Do you really think that 4 days is enough time? Because to me, that's a week to 2 week process to really flesh it out. So I'm concerned that you're not asking for enough time.
I would certainly not turn down the possibility of more time. The fantastic thing is we've been working with Ryan Waterbury. He helped us with starting this project in 2017 and 2018. We worked very well with him. And he has been investigating doing this exact thing for a couple of years. Like, this has been a real driving need, and he's realized that this is a need that we have. I would not turn down more time.
That 4 days, that was his estimate.
And that would include him coming up with some mocked up graphics, because some of us like to look at a blueprint, and others of us like to look at the picture of the car. So that way we can have both.
I'll put it this way. Does anyone object to us exploring the feasibility of this project? Sharon?
I thank the body.
All right, next we have Card Assistive Record Development, and let me just make sure that I have her presentation ready to go.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Tara.
I've spent a lot of one-on-one time with some of our reoccurring members, but I'm just starting to get to know some of the new members. I'm really looking forward to working together on fundraising. I'm very, very interested in the project that Cara is talking about. I think helping our candidates understand the mechanics of fundraising can only help benefit our party in the long run. So I'm very, very happy to hear that you're considering this. Is this the correct report? I just updated it.
No, I don't have it. Sorry, go ahead.
This is, yep.
This is the one I filed, Secretary.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just updated it today. So I wanted to put new information because since I turned in my staff report last week, some of you have done some call time with me and we have raised some more money, and so I wanted to reflect that in my report as well. I always like to drag out when I do my report because it always looks better 5 days after I built it.
Well, while he's pulling that up, I would like to thank the following members of the board who are pledge donors, Ms. Bilyeu, myself, Ms. Ebke, Mr. Ferreira, Mr. Hagan, Mr. Hall, Ms. Harlos, Ms. Hogarth, Mr. Longstreth, Mr. Nikela, Mr. Phillips, Ms. Sarwar, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Valente. You're sending a signal that you're investing in the organization, and frankly, I want to go to donors and be able to say that our board is invested in our board. I hope anybody whose name I didn't call will mob Tara after her presentation and become a pledge donor, even if it's at $5 a month. It shows that you are committed to the vision of the organization.
Yes, I also want to thank Mr. Lucchini for a significant contribution that he made to the Frontier Project yesterday. So, well, yes, pledges are important. Those big bulk donations are also really significant to the party, and we appreciate it greatly.
Thank you.
Good. I have a lot of charts to show you, and so I can't really explain so much. What I do have is information from data we collect and run through Raiser's Edge, which is our fundraising tool. So they give us a lot of pretty graphs that I feel like I should share with you. As I mentioned in my report, my goal is to always provide in my staff reports new information to help you all make better decisions in the future. These are actions by fundraiser. As you can see, some of our staff are leading, which is great because we employ them full-time to do those things. LNC members are not full-time paid staff, and so the time that they spend in fundraising is voluntarily. So I just want to highlight those individuals who have been making time to do call time with me or Becca Compton to make sure that we are touching all of the regions. One of the reasons why this is so important is because I am literally typing on my computer at my home all day. I have no idea what's going on in your regions. You are all very closely connected to your regions. And so when you speak to donors, you're going to have so much more valid information as to the needs that they have, as to answers to the questions that they have about regional concerns. Sure, I can answer things about the Joe Jorgensen campaign as I know it, and I'll talk a little bit about that collaboration. But I really want to just make sure you understand the importance of you being a part of the fundraising process. This is not a one-man job, and I've expressed that at other LNC meetings, and I think it's resonating with all of you. So I appreciate you. This is the revenue that we have raised. I don't know if I can blow this up any further. Yeah, here we go. So we've raised 1.6 million this year, and you can see that to date in 2020. And given a pandemic, you know, we've really made sure that we've made really strong efforts to connect with individuals and meet them where they're at. And we are on track to surpass 18 and 19 numbers. Unfortunately, NXT doesn't provide me the opportunity to go further back in graphs. I did at the last LNC meeting provide a further breakdown going all the way back into 2015 in a spreadsheet. But unfortunately, I can't show that to you in a graph. You can see our average gift is $51, which is great. When I first started, the average gift was $32. And so to see that number tick up month to month is very, very important. Cut up here. What else? We are building out our stewardship strategy. I have been working very closely with our chairman to identify how we want to classify our donorships and how we want to treat them special. Obviously, donors are the lifeblood of the party, and so making sure they understand that we respect the level of giving that they do is going to be imperative, not only for keeping them, but also for bringing in new members. We just recently, working closely with the Jorgensen campaign, picked up a new member of the Chairman's Circle whose net worth is in the billions, and that was very exciting for us. And we look forward to building that relationship as an ongoing relationship and finding more members of the Chairman's Circle to be part.
And I want to acknowledge Mr. Phillips for helping with that, being a part of helping with that.
We have been working very closely with the Jorgensen campaign. We've been sharing data, we've been sharing donors, we've been sharing call time with them. I've been doing call time with them myself. At times it's very hard to get them to get our candidates to find the time on the road to be able to make those calls, but we have been working towards those goals as well. And we are very, very fortunate. I have been educated that previous election cycles have not had such cohesion between the presidential nominee, the campaign, and the party. And so to have that cohesion is really, really important and benefiting us, both at the campaign level and at the party level. We are doing virtual donor summits. Virtual donor summits are happening quarterly. They are not asks, they are opportunities for our highest donors, those who have given at least $2,000 to the party, and that will go up as we expand, but at least giving $2,000 to the party in a year to be able to engage with our chairman, to engage with our staff, to engage with our executive director, to have an opportunity to engage with our candidates. We are giving them an opportunity to feel like they are important to the party. And so we'll continue that as that goes on, and that's been very successful. Also, legacy donorships. We have seen less requests this year than we have in previous years. And so understanding the importance of requests to the party, we are advertising in a much more aggressive fashion. Obviously, COVID has left us all feeling a little bit vulnerable and thinking about what kind of experience we want to leave to our families, to our country, and then some. So we are making this readily available to individuals, and we've had 4 individuals who have recently signed up to be legacy donors and just identify themselves to the party. They're giving, but they're not yet, obviously, they have yet to expire in life, and hopefully it will be a few years before they do. But we are prepared to take that gift when the time comes. These, I showed you all this model in Reno for those of you who were at the Reno event. I showed you in January what our donorship retention looked like. And I have a comparison of that chart as of right now. You can see that, yes, we have significant amounts of lapsed donors, but we've also acquired at least 5,000 new donors, which is fantastic. We are really looking at our at-risk donors and how we can recapture them. And you can see that we've doubled our efforts to recapture donors as well. This is a beautiful chart that the chairman also included in his strategic plan of our active donors from 2012 to present. And you can see that we are not quite there with 2016 numbers, but we are very, very close. And we've got 2 months before the election cycle ends. We've got 4 months before the season expires, or 3.5 months. And so there is time to reach those goals, and there are great goals in front of us. I believe we can reach them. Our appeals team is working to process out appeals once a week. Those are bringing in anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 each email that goes out. So we're making sure that that content is not just dismissed by those readers who get those emails, but there's actual substance in there that they can feel like they have new information to celebrate with us, or they understand why the asks are imperative. So we've been working very, very hard on that. I have to thank Becca Congdon and Chris Clements, who are both beautiful writers. The development team could not be successful without quality writers, because that is a good portion of what development needs to do, is explain and excite people. And so my team is phenomenal. I'm so, so happy, and I thank you, the LNC body, for building that team for me. I appreciate you very much so. You can see our year-over-year retention. We are kind of low at the moment on the year-over-year retention, and so we need to, Dan Fishman has been working very hard with the membership team to make sure that those one-time members that came on are finding connections to us so that we can keep them linked to all the activities that are going on. And that's also where you come into play, helping us identify what is going on in your region so that we at National are able to express those activities to people within those regions. This is our rolling donor retention. And just another beautiful graph for you folks. Year-over-year donor acquisition. This is where we're doing great. You know, 2020 may be miserable for some people, but what's happening right now is that more Americans are getting disaffected by the two-party system. They are seeing the toxicity that's occurring. They see that both parties are not offering them the kinds of options that they're looking for, and they're reaching to liberty. And we're here to capture them. So whereas I just came on in November, and I can't necessarily go back in time and fix issues that previous donors have had or previous members have had, what I can do is focus on these people and make sure that they have a fantastic experience with the party. And so that's where I'm putting a majority of my energy. Also, our year-over-year revenue acquisition. We're doing very well in this. This year, we've recaptured 1,720 donors. We are recapturing at a rate of 5.8%. We brought in $132,000 from recaptured donors. And that's just, you know, maybe they hadn't received a phone call, or maybe, you know, they blocked us on emails and we just needed to find another way to get to them. Or they're not opening our emails anymore, or their emails are going to spam. Just identifying those problems and just reminding them that we're here and we're ready and we're working very, very hard. And we'll wrap this up with a couple of goals that I have planned. You see here the dates that I am anticipating for the virtual donor summits. Those are happening quarterly. They do not need a budget. They're very low-key, low expenditure projects. The Lifetime of Liberty celebration, Steve Nikila and I have talked a little bit about that. We tried to do it last year, but there were a lot of hiccups in the way. We're really, really hoping that this celebration can occur for our lifetime members in the Florida Keys. We've got a great location there with a lot of opportunities, and I hope to keep working with him on that. The first convocation of the Association of Libertarian Educators. In previous discussions, I've talked a little bit about a pipeline project, and I think we're looking at renaming that to something along the lines of the Freedom Trail. I'm from Boston, what can I say? It's actually something that our executive director came up with, and I love, but it's identifying youth strategies to bring them into the party. And the way that I'd like to do this is to identify educators across the country who are dealing with these individuals and are able to touch them regularly. And just finding out what kind of challenges they're facing, how they can be supportive, and really bringing them together as a professional association to mix and mingle and understand each other so they don't feel necessarily so isolated from the libertarian community. This is my hope. I hope to have it in Boston. Ideally, I'd love to have it at an Ivy League institution in Boston. But I would like your blessing to move forward on that. That is one of the asks that I have. Next, as Kara mentioned, I'm looking to do a grassroots operations workshop. I am a political operative. Apollo, Kara, we are political operatives. This is our life. This is what we do. What I see around this country is that our candidates don't have enough qualified political operatives. And so we need to train those people. We need to teach our candidates how to fundraise. We need to teach operatives how to fundraise, how to open a bank account for to accept money. We have a candidate who's running against somebody who's very, very toxic in the political climate. And you know what? They didn't even open up a bank account. They just put their name on the ballot. Money would roll in if we just had an account set up for that individual. And just having the tools, giving them the tools to understand how to do those things, teaching them all the mechanics of campaigning, those are things that we want to put more effort into. And I am hoping that Kara has regional options planned. I'm sure that I cannot travel to all those regions for all of those events, but this would be an intensive training post those regional events. And I'd like to do it in the central location of Kansas City. I'd like to do a Chairman's Circle event. We have, that's going to be a little more involving, obviously, our chairman on the details of that, but I'd like to do a specialty event just for those people who have contributed over $25,000 in a single year to this party. Identifying them, it's a small group. We can make them feel special. They are special. They are important. And giving them an opportunity to do something specifically with the chairman, such as a golf event or a boating event, a fishing event, that will be determined in the future. But I'd like to plan that in late summer. Most exciting thing on here is our 50th anniversary coming up next year. We are going to be celebrating 50 years of this party, and that is exciting. It is exciting because our constituents are ready for it. It is a continual fundraising opportunity for us in a non-election year. And you know what? Everybody's been stuck at home for so long. How exciting would it be to get together and celebrate? God willing, COVID will not be an issue in 2021 of next year, but I want to be ready for it. And my idea is to go back to our founding state of Colorado and build an Oktoberfest, just a full-out celebration, a jovial celebration. Nobody has to do anything. Nobody has to work. It's not like a convention where we put in so much energy trying to make sure it's perfect for everyone. This will be perfect because it's just for celebrating. And celebrations are what binds communities. And so this is a really fantastic opportunity, and I'd love your blessing to move forward on it. In my head, I see 3 tents, a music tent, a food and beer tent, and a VIP donors and LNC members tent. That is my vision. I hope you will get on board with me. And finally, I'd like to do a Chairs Holiday celebration. I'd like to do this in wine country, and I'd like it to be classy. And that'll come together more towards the end of the year and conversing with the chair about his desires for that event.
Yeah, I'm a Southern California, not a Northern.
So with that, I'm asking for $50,000 to be put in the budget for events for next year. I think that we could do a lot of these events with that budget. So a lot of these events don't require much of a budget, so I think that we would be able to accomplish a lot with that level of funding. Other annual collaborative events expected: Students for Liberty's annual conference, God willing, that doesn't get canceled again, Freedom Fest in July, and the Liberty Forum, the Road to Freedom Unconvention, Workfest, and LSLA, which is
Libertarian Student Leaders Association.
Right, Libertarian Student Leaders Association.
Yeah, Libertarian State.
Great.
Libertarian State Leadership Association. I'm still getting familiar with the alphabet soup of the Libertarian Party, so please bear with me. And then internal development goals, these are important. I want us to really deep dive into the segmentation of our data, to look at our donors and understand what their values are, what their triggers are, where they came from. I want to know more about them so that when we are sending out appeals, we can be more targeted towards those individuals. And we are not flooding people with information that they don't want, because that makes them turn us off. And we want to turn them on. Consistent direct mail schedule and evaluation. I've worked very, very hard to try to get direct mail pieces out pretty regularly. Our appeals team works very, very hard on this. It's been difficult, but some of you may have received the new Jo Jorgensen piece that we sent out. That was one of our largest mail outs it's definitely the largest mail out we've done in our time, my time with the LNC, but that is generating significant revenues, not only for us, but also for the Jo Jorgensen campaign. And so we look forward to doing more direct mail pieces. A lot of our significant donors are of an age where they're not necessarily engaged online. And so our direct mail appeals are the only experience they have with us. And so I'd like to be more consistent and really look at those numbers and see how we can do that better. Standard operations procedure formalization. I have not yet had time to teach all the various members of the team who are entering data how to do it uniformly. And I would like to spend some real quality time to make sure that our data is uniformly inputted. Because if everybody's doing it different, we're gonna have non-hygienic data. It's going to be dirty. It's not going to be as useful. And I can see Ken's head bobbing up and down because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then finally, the City CRM integration. I've been working with Andy and Ken to understand the tools of the City CRM and how we can utilize fundraising through that. It's not there yet. Doesn't have some of the features that we want, so we haven't yet to migrate fundraising over to it, but we're trying to build this tool to be exactly what we need. And so there's a lot of conversations going on about how to integrate that and how to share data with the state affiliates so that we can work as teams fundraising and really build the party in a way that's not factionalized or segmented. We really want everybody to come together and help build this party. And the way that we do that is putting them all under one umbrella. So that's what I have for you. I just want to show you this last chart that Blackbaud gives us, and this is comparing our data to other organizations. And you will have this in my staff report as well. But all of the organizations that use NXT or Razor's Edge, all of that information gets aggregated, and this is a comparison of how we stand in relation to those organizations. This is interesting because most nonprofits don't have caps to giving levels. We have caps to our giving levels. There are so many more rules and regulations about how we take in donations in comparison to other nonprofits. So to see us succeeding in these ways and to see our shortfalls are still above average, they are goals that we can work towards. This helps me understand how we can plan our strategies moving forward and really gives us an attaboy for the good work that we are doing. So with that, I'll take questions.
All right, we'll go around for questions and comments. I'm going to start with me. This is in my written report, but I'd like to commend the members of the committee who donated their time to assist Tara with fundraising in the last 2 months. And that's Karen Ann Harlos, John Phillips, Stephen Nikela, Chris Lucchini, and Laura Ebke. Thank you for that. For everybody else, we're going to be working very hard to get you into this system and helping with with our goals there. I know many of you signed a pledge prior to your election to assist with fundraising. And I want to reassure you that it's not scary. Fundraising is actually 3 completely different skills. There's prospecting, which is finding donors who have both capacity and interest in donating to our organization. There is asking, which is figuring out what our pitch is and getting the meeting or the phone call in order to make that pitch. And then there is stewarding, thanking them, making sure they're kept informed of what's going on, and setting them up for future pitches. It's often put under the umbrella of fundraising, but it's 3 completely different skills. And no matter where you are on the introversion to extroversion spectrum, you are good at least one of those things. And we're going to find out what it is. So look forward to that. Tara did mention, a lot of meetings that I've been having with her, and that has been focused mainly on systematizing our strategy on all 3 of those things. And we're not yet at the completions phase of it. We're still working on it, but a lot of good conversations, and I'm very optimistic about our potential. I think there's about $900,000 of unasked gifts in our database just from donors we currently have. And then lots and lots of thank yous needed. I mean, if all you want to do is thank donors who have given, we've got plenty of that. The other comment I have is just kind of a side comment based on just something you threw up. Tara raised, I think it's the first person to raise the idea of coalitions at this meeting, us working with other organizations either within the libertarian sphere or outside of it, who may agree with us on an issue or a couple of issues. In the past, we've kind of had LNC members take that on their own initiative, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. I'd like to explore whether we want to be a little bit more official on designating LNC members to be liaisons to various entities that we want to work with. I think we do that for the LSLA, which we ultimately figured out what it stood for. There's plenty of other organizations, and I'm sure if I pass a sheet around, we filled a sheet with organizations that maybe we want to consider having regular conversations with about strategy and implementation. So that's something to keep in mind as an idea. And I didn't have a question. I guess, do you agree with all that?
I do, Mr. Chair.
All right. We'll go around for questions. We got Aaron, John, and Richard.
Hey Tara, so I totally love the proposed event planning goals. Yeah, events are my thing, right? We talked about it. I'm curious though, if you feel like these events should fall under development. There's certainly development potential there and places that development could benefit there. But from where I'm sitting, I see these as activism, outreach, and political division work. And considering how finite our staff resources are, I'm wondering if they wouldn't better be handled under those umbrellas where they clearly, to me anyway, belong. And then that way just allowing development to benefit in the addition on the end. I mean, a lot of these things, a donor summit, sure, development all the time, but Lifetime of Liberty celebration, the Association of Libertarian Educators, and grassroots. I see grassroots as something that maybe Kara Schultz or Apollo Pizzell should be heading up. The Chairman's Circle event, a lot of these are great ideas. My other concern with these is I would like to know if you run a cost-benefit analysis on any of these, consider what hosting these events are going to cost us, and whether or not you can show us that there will be a financial benefit and not a loss, especially in a time of COVID and shutdown.
What I can say is that activism and outreach are definitely components that I would love to see be a part of this, but these are things that I plan on fundraising towards. This is not just, I'm asking for the LNC to allocate me a budget to move forward, but each of these events, the first convocation of the Association of Libertarian Educators, I have people ready to give to that project should this body move forward on it. There is money to be made there, and so that is why these ideas are important. Also, you know, LNC members themselves have brought individuals to me who are very, very excited about that particular project. I have nowhere to plug them into yet. I do believe it is a development goal. I do believe that it's going to raise a significant amount of money for us. Each of these are going to raise good amounts of money. We need events to fundraise towards. We need goals. And I do believe that part of development's goals are to grow our party's membership as well. I believe that membership is part of the development process, and what we want to do is develop the party into a larger entity. You may or may not agree. I see you shaking your head, and we could talk about this, but I would like to move forward on these are the events that I think are beneficial to the donorship of our party. But again, I would love and welcome any other support. As far as Kara and Apollo leading the grassroots operation, I've already spoken to both of them. We are going to work together. And again, I see my role as fundraising towards that goal and then planning out the mechanics of what that is. So it's an all-inclusive strategy. And I am not of the thought process that we should be breaking projects up necessarily in between people. I believe development should be touching all of it and supporting all of it and making sure our donorship knows all of the things that are going on in our party so that they can give where they're excited about.
Mr. Phillips.
Two-part. First is just confirmation, the money you're asking for is next year's budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we'll be discussing that at the next meeting. But my question to you is very similar to the one that I posed to Kara. Looking at the list of events that you have up there, I think that you're under asking. You know, I think that you need to be looking more in the 75 to 100 range for the events that you're looking at right there, having a background and that kind of thing.
So I try to be modest in my ask, and I really think that my job is to also fundraise towards all of those asks. And so yes, this is what I'm asking from the LNC. I expect more donorship towards all of these events. So if you want to give me $75,000, I'm going to put it to good use. But I'm trying to be modest with your budget. I understand the constraints that we're all under. I understand that, you know, January is not going to look like October. And so I'm thinking consciously about that as you guys plan your next budget. So again, I welcome more money.
When we present it, it will be to the penny. And then it'll be up to the body to decide what the priorities are. Mr. Long.
All right, so one quick comment. I don't think it would be too much for any person in this room to maybe do 2 hours a month with any member of the development department to make phone calls. I am one of those people who historically has been very involved. However, if you're unaware, it's been a very busy 2 months for me. Moving across the country, I've got engaged. There's all sorts of stuff going on in my life right now. So I've not been able to participate on that level, but believe me, once my move is settled down, I'm leaning back into it. I think 2 hours is 1 hour every 2 weeks. I would challenge every member of this body to find 1 hour every 2 weeks to get in touch with the development department and make phone calls. My preference is stewardship. That's where I'm good at. That's what I enjoy. Tara can attest to that. That is what I'm good at. I'm not good at fundraising, but if you're a fundraiser, then gosh darn it, we need fundraisers. Get out there and do the ask. That's what we need. There's also opportunities to write emails, to write all sorts of stuff. So if you're not that type of person who likes to get on the phone and ask, there are other opportunities. But there is no reason that every single person who is committed to be on this national body cannot spend 2 hours a month doing what they can to raise money for this organization. That's my ask to all of you and my challenge to all of you. As far as I've got a couple of comments, suggestions. So suggestion, we were talking about getting uniform data put out to the rest of the development department as far as inputs and that sort of thing. My suggestion would be that we write a guide as you do that and refine that guide as you continue to teach it out. That way, as new members come in, they already have that guide. We don't have to rebuild the basics. So I think that's probably in your mind, but if not, please consider. And then I did have 2 questions, and one is more rhetorical and kind of a long term. So that's going to be to Aaron's point, the cost benefit analysis on some of these events. If you could, on some of these events, kind of justify that $50,000 ask as to this is what it costs, this is what we expect to get out of it prior to our budget meeting, or at least get it to XCOM that way we consider as we're planning the budget to present to the group. I think that would be beneficial and kind of give us a little bit more meat and potatoes as opposed to, I think we all like the idea, but understanding kind of the level of thought we've given to it would help us kind of determine if that's justified or not. The other thing is I heard your report went into retention and shared a lot of the charts, as well as I noticed the membership report also did. I know that there's overlapping territory. Who is taking the lead on retention? Is it the development department or the membership department, or is it truly both of the 2 different heads kind of going different directions with it and seeing where it goes?
We're not going 2 different directions. I work with Michelle McCutcheon as well, who's on the phone. I train her up on what we need her to do for stewardship as well. It's segmented by giving amount, and so we are doing the same processes of touches. We're making sure that different people are taking care of different levels, so levels don't get, they don't fall through the cracks. Individuals who are at a lower level of giving don't fall through the cracks because they don't get touched. So it's a specialization. It's not they're doing this and we stay in our lane. It's not like that at all.
Okay.
I'm really proud of our staff because the agile system that Dan has put into place has given us the opportunity. I know you've been on stand-ups. It gives us the opportunity to discuss what we're doing every single day and find those collaboration points where we can work together. I don't believe in necessarily breaking it all up in little,
Your lane, my lane.
Your lane, my lane. I do like my lane, and I like to understand what's in my lane, but I like to make sure that I'm supporting all the other lanes in what is going on as well.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. My bigger concern would be our if Jess is heading us in one direction on retention, you're heading us in another direction on retention that are not overlapping. And I know that Razor's Edge, as long as comments are being put in accurately, it reduces that chance of double calling the same person. And that's my concern. I know we had that concern a while ago. And I'm sure Dan can talk a little bit during his staff report about some of the things that we've done to simplify that process. So that's all the questions I got. Do I need to pass this to anyone?
Mr. Hammond.
All right, so as one of the people that promised to set up a plan, I'm going to ask for myself, everybody in the room, and everybody watching, what is the easiest way to get that ball rolling? Like, what email address? How should we start? Just email you, or?
Yeah, email me directly. It's
For the people online, you want to spell it out?
Yeah, you can email me at tara@lphq.org if you want to be part of a fundraising strategy. What I hesitate on is I have a lot of candidates across the country that are working on local races that reach out to me all the time asking for support in fundraising. And my capacity doesn't really allow me that kind of privilege to do that. So I would really, I really want to focus my time and energy on working with each of you. And then if each of you want to then work with, I give you all data when we do call time. I'm talking to you about each of our donors. I'm giving you intelligence on who they are and what you are able to work with candidates that are approved by state affiliates to do that kind of existential fundraising. And so that would really be my wish, is to just work here with you because our development staff is so small. But if somebody wants to work on a big donor and wants to work directly with me, I'm happy to do that as well.
Thank you. Other questions or comments?
Just a very quick comment. When you talked about the events, I heard the passion in your voice. I tend to think whoever's passionate about something should be the one who's doing it, rather than necessarily strict things, because you'll put your soul into it. And I've talked with you about some of these events, so even though I can see Ms. Adams' point that it might not be strictly your thing, I think your passion has made it your thing.
Thank you. Mr. Hewitt. Supervisor.
I think that Richard just made his own point clear that he's ready to move from stewardship to asks, because he did a fine job of shaving the rest of us right then for getting 2 hours. That's giving him a big hand. He's ready to go to big time now.
We have 2 minutes.
I just want to say, I hope you all found yourselves at your giving capacity at this point. And if you can just reflect personally on what levels you've been able to contribute to this party, and really consider if that's the maximum contribution that you can give, then that's it. But if you can give more, please do, and I'm happy to work with you towards that. So thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you, Governor. Dan, you have 90 seconds.
Last quarter, good. Thank you. We pop up my report, and I will say the 3 most exciting words that we heard. I will be brief.
That's 4 words.
I'll be brief. You guys are counting.
45 seconds.
All right, I will try to be relatively brief. Quick summary, we had an excellent quarter in spite of adverse scenarios. We have completed 4 consecutive quarters of membership growth, increase in avenues of fundraising. Obviously, fundraising itself has increased, but a critical element to that is that we have increased the methods in which we are pursuing fundraising. Think of it akin to instead of a tree growing up, we are also growing broad. And as the leaves spread out, we gather more water. 2020 revenue is already the 2nd highest year of revenue the LNC has had in the last 20 years, not counting 2016. I believe that 2016 is in our sights. We're going to have to work on it, but it has been exceptional. As you guys know, we had the hybrid convention in Orlando. Ballot access appears to be completed successfully. We're getting ready to begin some prospecting on Facebook to try to continue to explode membership, and the synergy between the presidential campaign and the LNC has been very rewarding. Talking about the growth of membership, this chart, which you guys can see on the big screen as well. If you look at August 2019, where we are now, August 20, that's a good curve. We should be proud of that. It happened because of you guys really getting out there. People who are actively recruiting in membership back in the fall, put a lot of effort into it. It's a good thing. Where our membership is now, we are going down to a little further. I do want to point out, though, one of the things that the chair said, it's not surprising to know that pumpkin sales are going to increase in October. We knew that was going to happen, but way back in January, when we were all at that Super Bowl party together in Reno, we talked about what we were going to do about that, what we were going to do to increase retention. So we have, Michelle working specifically. At 2 months, every member gets a touchdown. We have the member welcome hangout your first weekend. We'll come back to you a month later if you haven't been in there. Andy has been working on setting up a path of automated touches in the CRM so that we're going to really, really work on that first year retention rate. We want to increase that more than anything else. I want to increase that more than anything else that we're focused on, because having those first year members go from 36% retention in 2016 to 50% retention in 2020, that would have an enormous impact on the party. especially if you look at the donor list. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit.
All right, I think we need to extend the time. Is there any objection to extending time? Was that an objection?
How many minutes?
10. All right, go to
And so I'm going to jump ahead just quickly to revenue and where we are, and I talked about this a little bit, and I'm going to rush a little bit to get through here, but if you look at where revenue is right now, revenue is actually ahead of 2001, and that is a critical number because 2001 to 2000, going back 20 years, those were some big numbers in terms of membership. I do want to talk about one thing that's really important when we talk about the membership number 2000. The membership number 2000 is an artificial number. The LNC at that point in time paid for memberships. And we talked about being $100,000 in the black. I could take that $100,000 and buy 400,000 memberships right now and give them out, and we would increase membership enormously. That's what happened in 2000. These numbers that we have right now, these are enormous organic membership that we have generated. And it's a very good sign of the growth of the party. It is unlike other growths in the past, especially if you look at the, I have the 20-year chart here. I don't have the 20-year chart here. But it's important that we know that this period of growth that's happening right now is very unique, and we have to put a lot of effort into this retention right now. Jess and Michelle have been very focused on membership. There's been a synergy between Jess and the campaign that has been very valuable. At all the Jorgensen events that Jess has gone to, she has been actively recruiting, handing out cards, PREs for the Libertarian Party. That has been turning into a lot of memberships and hopefully people that we're keeping a long time. As we saw in 2016, the number of people that come into the presidential campaign is enormous. They are going to be the mass of the party for the foreseeable future. They're going to be the largest individual mass of the party. The class of 2020 is going to be enormous, and it's going to drive a lot of things. It's important that we put a lot of effort into retention, but also in that retention to touch them and say, you came in from all these different sources. This is what the Libertarian Party looks like. These are the things that we want to be showing you. We had a great quarter for technology. University of the Libertarian Party is online. We are waiting for content. We talked about treasurer's course online. Other things that will become available. The past IT committee was in charge of it. Going forward, we're going to have some people who want to commit to owning the content of ULP, figuring out how it works. But it is, those of you who've ever taken a class in Blackboard or any of the other distance learning programs, everything that we do there, we can do in ULP. Quizzes, certifications, everything you want to do. So we can do real distance learning online. We converted the LNC to G Suite, which is, I think, a big win. For those of you who saw, when the staff were online, they came in actually through your portal. If you were to log in with your LP account and go to your calendar, you would see the meeting is in there. You could click on it and it would be online in this meeting. We completed the hybrid convention. Project Porcupine is something that I think is critical to the future of the party. And I hope that we can talk to Mr. Ferreira, and I put in your GitHub, I should say, I meant to say open source, but moving it into a project that we start working on now so that it can run to state conventions in the next year. And by 2022, when we have a larger national convention, we'll have at least a year of testing under our belts. I think that's a really good plan for us to work for going towards some technology. Our plan to move off of Razor's Edge by 2021, we talked about it. It's going to have to be reviewed. There's certainly some issues there in terms of what we are.
I'm sorry, you're reading it.
Okay.
They've all had it, they've read it.
Fair enough. A couple things I want to point out. Summary of the elections. We had the canvassing team out in the field before COVID hit. There were some questions as to whether or not that was a success, and just read that, talked about that briefly. But one of the things that came out of it is that we recruited a lot of really good people. Mario's no longer in the room, but the young man who's walking around with Apollo came in through that program. So our reaching out at that point in time we are recruiting professionals who come and help expose to us, and I think they do a great job of bringing people into, bringing professionals into the party. We had in the new LPTV show last week, Libertarios Españoles. For those of you who didn't see it, I think it's going to be really important. And in summary, COVID-19 is still a huge impact on us. That being said, the fact that we have this amazing quarter, this amazing year in this environment is a testament to the fact that we're doing a lot of things right. The team is humming at this point in time. We are very efficient. Tara talked briefly about we've been using agile methodology. We're breaking in slowly, but as of next week, actually, we're going to start doing talking about blockers and burn downs. And I really feel like we are moving along at a very efficient rate. And so with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments?
Can somebody else run the microphone for me? I saw Mr. Pope did.
So you're talking about member retention. Have we analyzed? No. Okay. I'm just going to start talking. There we go. Have we analyzed the retention of our enrollment by state? And if not, or if yes, do we know why people may come into the party and then keep their enrollment as a libertarian but stop being a member of the national organization?
We don't have specific state-by-state knowledge, although I could break it out that way, and that's a very good idea. Since I have the basic queries, I can break it out by state. In terms of retention for why people wanted to stay with us, we're starting to gather that data now. Part of what had been the member portal, people talk about, the new questions that are coming in, what's important to you in the CRM. We're going to do more on tracking that. And the other thing about it is asking people why they leave as well. We haven't been doing that in the past. And one of the interesting things is that although membership has drastically increased, loss per month is constant. I would like to see that go down as we start addressing that, because membership changes in two ways. One, we increase the number of new members, we can slow the hemorrhage of people who are leaving. And we're not doing a great focus on that right now, but we intend to.
Mr. Phillips.
Dan, we talked before about working with the states and their membership and maybe some combined membership drives, things like that. Have you had any more thoughts on that, worked on any more progress on that?
So we did actually set up a combined membership with Colorado. And so I don't not remember the URL off the top of my head, but we would like to do that with all the states. And as you read in the chair's report, Bring Back UMB is something that is very valuable. And that's one of the things that the CRM does particularly well, is that it's one-stop shopping. Okay, we can have the donors come in that place, their information gets entered into the same database, and as a result, we can do the same sort of data analysis and present it to both the national targeting, national understanding of who these people are, and give that analysis to the states as well. And so as we start to do more segmentation, ask more of these questions about, why are you joining the party? What are the most important issues, stuff like that. We'll be able to do a lot more both on the state side, and it's not just touches that's important that we're going to increase here. It's the lack of touches as well. Because a lot of times we send solicitations to people that we shouldn't be sending them. Second Amendment rights, big issue for us, but there are some people that for whatever reason, that's not their jam. They can tell us that. We should stop sending them the thing saying, hey, why don't you give money because we're about to fight for this. There are other clients that I can point to in the platform. I'm not going to name them, but you know where I am. We can be smarter about our communications.
Ms. Harlan.
A comment, then a question. In the appendix to my latest second sitting, I also said about Porcupine. That was my recommendation in my appendix, that is I think, the future. So, I'm voluntolding you. But my question is, are we ready to start considering UNP again?
Absolutely. So we know the mechanics of it. The question is now just willingness. I mean, we have it in Colorado. It is online. Now, the question.
I have thoughts on that, but in general, so you, what I'm asking though, what immediately went through my head, if this is something we're ready to really start considering, do you think it would be a good idea for there to be an LNC exploratory committee set up to work with you and the chair to try to figure out how we can do this? Because affiliates have been asking me forever to get this rolling.
We understand the technology. The political ramifications, I will leave to the LNC.
So that's a kind of a yes?
But in terms of technology, we can roll it out tomorrow.
Right. So an LNC committee to deal with the other stuff, we might be right for that.
Absolutely.
One of the tasks assigned to the advisory committees.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Time has expired. There's 2 questions still. Are they like questions you can talk offline, or do you want to extend that?
I don't think talk first. I was going to call for it today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cushman. All right. One correction. I thank Mr. Phillips for helping secure a billionaire. I was incorrect on that, but he did help secure a millionaire. So apologies for giving you too much credit. But Chair would entertain a motion to move to executive session with Mr. Pizzell and his deputy to discuss political strategy, followed for like 15 minutes, followed by an executive session to discuss pending and potential litigation for about 15 minutes, followed by lunch until 1:30. And we are having, you don't need to eat it, but we are having pizzas delivered.
It's here.
And it's here. So maybe we'll just bring it in now.
I would recommend going into executive session after you grab your pizzas.
Okay, so we'll do that. And then of course, you know, if you want to go out, we can go out. So that's the motion.
What are the topics?
First one will be for political strategy, and the second one for pending and potential litigation. Yes.
May I suggest that perhaps we take a 5-minute recess, get the food in.
We'll do it, okay.
All that stuff.
5 minutes and all that stuff. Yes. I can't hear you.
We'll do the implications for rising into executive session after.
I don't understand your question.
If we did executive session, like had a lunch break and then did executive session.
I guess that's up to the body, but it seems.
That's just to let people know what time we're back.
I'm saying, why would we be able to have executive session after a lunch like that? What breaks that?
We could do that.
I think you're.
His question is, why don't we just adjourn for lunch and then when we come back, go into executive session? And I said we could do that.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
I second that.
Yeah.
Just going to lunch?
We're eating it here. But let's have a dedicated.
Doesn't
break.
matter where you eat at. Have a lunch break for people.
I think the main reason to do it the way I described it is out of courtesy to our guests, so they know what time they're supposed to be back here when we're back.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I mean, we're still gonna have a time start.
Yeah, regardless.
No, because the executive session.
It's not the rise in the.
All right, so I made a motion. Is there a second? Yeah, so it's recess to get lunch, executive session 1, executive session 2, done till 1:30. All right, any objection? So moved. Where's the pizza?
So for people on the live stream, I'm halting the live stream. It will start after the executive sessions.